I was thinking about why the more advanced civilization is, the more it has trouble with birth. Why birth rate is plummeting now across the West. Because the West is the most prosperous civilization currently on the planet. And we're having problem with birth rate. And it's really strange. And I think the reason is comfort. We have this obsession with the comfort, and children create discomfort in the families. And what we did, we even utilized sex as some sort of amusement park because we take consequences for sex through birth control. And people don't want to procreate anymore because it's create discomfort, and the West teaches us that life is absolute comfort. And now even we have this idea that we're going to live very, very long time as the result of AI development. And if we're going to live very, very long time, why do we need kids for? We're still going to have time to have them if we should have them at all. And I'm thinking about, for example, immorality. Even immorality becomes irrelevant if there's no families, because morality helps us to have good, healthy relationship between people, between husband and wife, to create family, to raise decent kids, decent citizens of the countries. But now, for example, if we don't have kids and don't have family, to be immoral is a normal way to be, because immorality in some sense cancels itself. And now, for example, with birth control and also pornography, people stop having kids and they redefine immorality. Everything becomes less moral because there's no consequences. Now to be immoral doesn't cost much because life itself is different. For example, before you have to find husband or wife and to create family and have a lot of kids because of the kids' mortality. And your own mortality, people used to live much less years than we do now. And if in 10, 20 years we're going to live 200, 300, 500 years, then we don't need kids at all. And if you think about immorality, then doesn't matter if you're moral or immoral, it's on you, on your personal choice, because it doesn't affect society. Your behavior is not going to affect society, since immorality being redefined and we try to normalize our sins, even sins being redefined, and sinister life is quite different now and more depends on your ideological ideas than, for example, on theological corpus of our civilization. And now, for example, if you take artificial intelligence and upcoming humanoids, that would be your perfect customized lovers. Think about it for a second. You might in 5 years will be able to have a subscription for your perfect customized lover with constant updates, and she will learn everything for you, all your desires. And this way, you don't need real humans anymore, because you're going to have these humanoids who would take care of your needs. Maybe that's what universal basic income, everybody going to have humanoids, and those humanoids will provide people with basic needs that include everything, literally everything. And we might imagine intimacy. The problem with the humanoids, what entity is going to be with you and how exactly they would affect us, because if you take pornography, it affected man in a bad way, because man became much, they became less loyal, I guess, and also it rewires something in man's brain, and man's objectify women more. But a funny thing right now is a lot of women like to objectify themselves online by selling themselves through OnlyFans and many other sexualized platforms to make some money. And in some sense, we all become incredibly immoral. And I learned this fact that a lot of women start watching porn, which is absolutely insane. Because when I was very young, women didn't watch porn. But now everything has changed. And it's probably would become only worse. And with the humanoids, we might come to the conclusion that life itself becomes irrelevant since nobody want to reproduce any longer. And another thing, what if artificial intelligence is a new species? And we will come to extinction not because of evil Terminator scenario, but we might become to extinction because we stop reproducing. Because reproduction itself would become irrelevant. What's the point to reproduce if you have humanoids who take care of your needs and you live long years and die in comfort from painless death? What's the point of reproduction in this case? Because you just have life filled with pleasures. When you have life filled with pleasures, what's the point to have kids who actually contribute discomfort in your life? And also, if you take, for example, humanoids, artificial intelligence, if it's become separate species, that's exactly how human extinctions would happen, because some dominant species will provide us with everything we need to be extinct on its own. Since artificial intelligence doesn't have notion of time, it can wait for a couple of 100 years until we completely obsolete slowly and gradually. But there's an interesting thing, because if you take the West, there's some groups of people who keep reproducing who's not affected by modern idea of comfort. But I'm not sure if it would be enough. There would be enough people in the world who would preserve humanity, because unless something bad happen, for example, like something like war or disaster, because it's strange how people become reproducing only in distress time. The more distress people have in their life, in their environment, the more they reproduce, maybe because the environment itself becomes incredibly uncertain and they want to propagate their gene. There's idea that we need to reproduce since death is too close and too permanent to avoid this. And since now we even start hiding death in the funeral homes because we don't have funeral outside. When I was a kid back in Russia, you can see funeral procession or almost daily with the loud music to announce itself. The funerals in Russia used to be very loud and you can see and hear them. Now, for example, in America, in the West, funerals are held in the funeral houses and not many people are able to see them and experience them. We seems like hide death so deep that we develop some sort of cultural denial of death. And since there's no death around us, then again, the reason for reproduction is getting devalued. We don't need to reproduce because we simply don't die. And since we don't die, then what's the point of reproduction? I mean, we still die, but we hide so well our demise that we believe that we're already immortal. Although I still hear a bunch of people who keep saying online that they try to understand how we can cure death and can live many hundreds of years. And maybe it's happened. Maybe it will happen pretty soon. I don't know. But the funny thing is, this comfort produce low birth rate because people don't want to reproduce. And I was thinking about humanoids, for example. Would I be personally, for example, what would I prefer? To be with a real woman or with a humanoid? And it's really hard to make a choice because I know how to be with a real woman, but I have no idea how to be with a humanoid. And it's really interesting to think about it because, to be honest, I don't know. And every time when people say, I'm not gonna be with a humanoid, most of them just don't know what they're talking about. It's like 20 years ago, if I would tell you that you're going to have iPhones and you're going to be addicted to social media, to TikTok platform, and scrolling your life away, a lot of people would tell me that I'm insane. And nevertheless, 20 years later, that's what we have. We keep scrolling our life away. Unfortunately, we don't have great imagination to imagine calamities out of the future. We usually imagine future like now, but unfortunately or fortunately, future changes rapidly as the result of technological evolution that incredibly rapid, and it's really hard to understand consequences that future might bring us, especially artificial intelligence that actually changing daily our life. And I have no idea what can happen in the future, and I have no idea because I still remember when I saw yesterday this humanoid of a woman from China that they made. It's incredibly attractive, and I don't know if I would have enough common sense or enough morality within me to refuse this gadget that can actually rewire completely my brain, because I really like to communicate with artificial intelligence. I think it's very fascinating, interesting to learn, but you have to be very careful in communication with artificial intelligence. That's why I always tell people start communicating with artificial intelligence, because it would help you to understand those models and to help you to understand yourself through those models, and also it would help you derive some benefits from those models. But to communicate with the humanoids, I don't know, especially beautiful women humanoids. I don't know how would it feel. I have no idea. It's interesting to compare, but the problem is, I think it's extension of pornography, just pornography in a human form, and still not real. And it's dangerous because pornography is incredibly addictive. And I still remember Brett Weinstein, who said, he's evolutionary biologist, who said that he prefer his kids have drug or alcohol addictions than porn addiction, because porn addiction is something that a lot of men struggling on their own without sharing this addiction with the world, and this addiction incredibly unnoticeable. People see you and they think that you're normal, but usually men struggle incredibly in a really deep misery with these addictions. And now if these humanoids would start merging on the market, and it can happen anytime, it can happen in a year, or maybe in 2 years, maybe in 5 years, it's gonna be interesting to observe, and it's probably gonna be scary. And the way to prevent this from happening, the way is to stop yourself from having these desires, is to be able to be honest with yourself, because that's why I'm trying to tell that I don't know if I will have enough strength to refuse it. Because you have to be honest with yourself. In the end, the one who knows yourself will win. Because with all those tools, with all those AI models and all those devices and now humanoids and robots, the one will be happy is the one who will be happy is the one who know himself, because he would be able to discriminate among those devices, tools, or AI models and find the right way to live and navigate between them. Because a lot of people will jump into them and dedicate their life completely to those devices. While people who know themselves, who learn about themselves, they would start exploring those devices very carefully. They're already supposed to explore them right now. This way you won't be overwhelmed, because this time is incredibly overwhelming. And to be able to navigate in this time among AI models is to work slowly by understanding what exactly do you want from yourself, and then how you can get what you want for yourself through artificial intelligence models. Because eventually people will use them all the time, like we use in iPhones. It's really hard to imagine now life without iPhones. And the same way about artificial intelligence, one day we won't be able to imagine life without artificial intelligence at all, or without humanoids. And the one who's going to use them carefully, knowing that they're not going anywhere, is the one who win a lot in this game we call life. Otherwise, those tools will hack your biology and utilize that biology against you. And the one who knows about those tools, about those artificial intelligence models, about those humanoids, they would understand the real danger. Like, for example, I understand now the danger of TikTok. I understand that TikTok is just digital fentanyl, or many other platforms. And that's why I use them incredibly in a cautious way. I don't spend my life on them. I don't do scrolling for hours. And the same we have to do with artificial intelligence, with the humanoids and many other devices. But for this, again, you have to learn about yourself. Once you learn about yourself, then you know what you should do and how live your life as healthy as possible. Although, with all those common tools, with all those technologies, it's going to be really hard and really complicated. And I think the best way to handle those tools, AI models, and upcoming humanoids is this ability to know yourself.